The astronauts spotted something that looked like an enormous 30-mile-wide circular shape.
When I first saw this, I was like, what the f*** is that?
For centuries, a legendary city has slipped through the grasp of explorers and dreamers alike.
Atlantis had been founded by the gods themselves, by Atlas and before that Poseidon.
But now, an ancient Roman map has resurfaced.
Atlantis was said to be a kingdom made up of, or an empire, made up of 10 kingdoms.
Revealing a glimpse of this mythical place, the question remains, what secrets are buried there? And where exactly is this city that has stumped historians for generations?
If Atlantis was a real thing, if we perhaps discover it someday, which we may, of course, we could learn a lot from that.
The Guam Map. Long ago, right in the heart of the Sahara Desert, there was a massive freshwater lake, bigger than all the Great Lakes in North America combined, plus 50% more. The Sahara wasn't always a dry wasteland. It used to be green and full of life until, all of a sudden, it turned into the desert we see today. That shift still feels like a puzzle no one's fully solved. However, the Guam map has a tattered piece of history, believed to be from the 13th or 14th century, and it sparked some wild theories about Atlantis. The map shows 2 islands, one large, one smaller. But thanks to centuries of erosion, their true sizes are hard to figure out. In places like the Welsh coastline, erosion has swallowed up miles of land, which means we may be looking at a natural cover-up. Could erosion be hiding Atlantis right in plain sight? That's the big question. Some think the lost kingdom of Cantrer Gwaelod might be the real Atlantis. Whether that's true or not, this whole idea breathes new life into the legend. Atlantis first popped up in Plato's writings, where he described it as a powerful and advanced civilization that supposedly existed 9,000 years before his time.
But I don't think they've discovered that. I mean, like some sort of historical Atlantis, sure, I could maybe believe in, but some sort of like magical city.
That's not that long ago, considering how ancient history tends to go. Now here's the twist. The Guam map shows a mysterious river flowing into the Sahara. It doesn't match the Senegal River we know today. This version takes a sharp turn far east, way past the modern river's actual path. It's like a puzzle missing half its pieces. Portuguese cartographer Diego Hamim drew the map in the 1500s, and now some historians believe he accidentally marked Atlantis's real location. He's not alone. German mapmaker Sebastian Monster also drew a river snaking through the desert, brushing close to the Nile, hinting that maybe Atlantis was never just a myth. Sebastian Monster's map. Sebastian Monster created a map that feels more like a time machine than just paper and ink. His drawing takes us on a wild ride through the Atlantic Ocean, where scattered islands sit like forgotten puzzle pieces. And right there, among all those shapes and names, one island stands out boldly with the label Atlantis Insula. This isn't just some old map gathering dust. It's become a favorite for historians and archaeologists, like a doorway into the past. At its center is a group of circular islands that look oddly familiar, like the ones Plato once described when talking about Atlantis. The largest of these islands even carries the name Insula Atlantica, which loosely translates to Atlantic Island. That name alone has people leaning in closer, squinting at the paper, and wondering if it's more than just a coincidence. Plato, the Greek philosopher, once told stories of a powerful city made of rings, water and land twisting around each other, with canals connecting them all. It sounded more like fantasy than fact. But here we are, staring at Monster's map, which includes not only Atlantis, but also the Azores and Canary Islands. Some folks believe these real islands could be the last bits of the lost city, the crumbs left behind after some massive ancient disaster. Of course, not everyone's buying it. Some scholars argue that the Atlantis Insula label might have been added later, kind of like someone jotting down a note on a map centuries after it was drawn. Maybe Monster was just as caught up in the legends as the rest of us. Still, even if it's not hard proof, the map keeps the mystery alive. It's like it's saying, hey, maybe you're looking in the right spot. The discovery of this map didn't solve the mystery of Atlantis, but it definitely stirred the waters. It doesn't give a GPS location, but it lines up with what Plato described. A city supposedly built by demigods, ruled by Poseidon, and passed down through his children. Sunken Secrets of Lake Atitlan. Long ago, in the heart of Guatemala, Lake Atitlan was more than just a beautiful lake. It was a living memory of ancient times. Surrounded by tall, watchful volcanoes that seemed to brush the sky, the lake was like a magical mirror holding on to the past. Around 1700 years ago, Lake Atitlan looked very different from what we see today. Back then, it had a mystical island right in the middle, like a jewel floating in the center of a watery crown. This island wasn't just pretty, it had power. It rose up proudly from the lake, crowned with a single peak that made it look straight out of a myth. For the Maya, it was no ordinary patch of land. This was a sacred space, a place where, according to legend, the gods themselves gathered. Some stories even say this was the spot where creation began, where the cosmic celebration of life kicked off. Even as centuries rolled by and the lake shifted and changed, the energy of the place never faded. There's still something in the air, something ancient that clings to the wind and whispers through the trees. Standing there today, it's not hard to imagine the rituals, the prayers, and the deep connection the Maya had with the land and water. But then came a twist no one saw coming. Between 200 and 300 CE, the Atitlan volcano roared to life. It wasn't a quiet rumble, it was an eruption that shook the earth. Lava and ash poured out in a violent rush, heading straight toward the lake. The lake's only way to drain, its natural outlet, got completely blocked. That was the beginning of the end for the island. Rainwater and streams kept pouring in, but the water had nowhere to go. The lake started rising, slowly at first, then steadily creeping higher and higher. In just a year, the water had swallowed the entire island, temples, homes, and all. What was once a 30-acre island full of life and faith was now buried beneath 60 feet of water. The people who once worshipped there had to leave behind their sacred ground, watching it disappear into the deep. Now, the legendary island sits quietly at the lake's bottom, like a forgotten Atlantis. The Atlantis clue. Nobody saw coming. Imagine a team of curious history buffs stumbling across a super old map, one so unique that it made even the most skeptical scholars raise their eyebrows. This wasn't your average dusty scroll. It was the famous Piri Reis map, drawn way back in 1513 by a high-ranking Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis. Now, this guy wasn't just doodling coastlines for fun. His map became a legend in the world of cartography, not just because it nailed the layout of places like South America and Africa long before satellites, but because it had a mysterious little message scribbled on it. That note? It casually hinted that Atlantis, the legendary lost city, might be chilling beyond the Pillars of Hercules. That's the ancient way of saying, just outside the Strait of Gibraltar, opening up the Atlantic like a secret door. Suddenly, this map wasn't just a cool artifact. It became a major clue in the long, twisted tale of Atlantis. Researchers and history sleuths started connecting dots like crazy. They went back to Plato, the OG source of the Atlantis story, and realized his descriptions kind of lined up with what the Piri Reis map was showing. It was like ancient GPS, pointing toward a possible location nobody had thought about seriously in years. What's even more wild? The Piri Reis map included details about islands and coastlines that Western mapmakers supposedly didn't know about at the time. That made people wonder, what if this map was preserving knowledge from even older civilizations? What if the clues were hiding in plain sight? But not everyone's buying it. Scientists and skeptics jumped in, saying we still don't have enough solid proof. Sure, some underwater surveys show strange structures and geological oddities, but that doesn't automatically scream Atlantis. It's one thing to get excited by a map, it's another to rewrite history over it. Still, the Piri Reis map refuses to be ignored. Whether it truly leads to Atlantis or not, it's a tantalizing piece of a much bigger puzzle. Is the Eye of the Sahara hiding Atlantis? Deep in the heart of Mauritania's Western Sahara lies a massive swirl of land known as the Eye of the Sahara. From space, it looks like someone pressed a giant fingerprint into the earth.
It is a truly beautiful geologic oddity largely only visible from the satellite.
For years, scientists have studied this strange circular formation, trying to figure out how it got there and what secrets it might be keeping. And now, some researchers think it might just be the long-lost city of Atlantis. This theory isn't just a wild guess. It's the result of years of digging through ancient maps, scanning the ocean floor for clues, and rereading old stories with fresh eyes. One of the key pieces in this puzzle? The famous Piri Reis map hinted at strange landforms beyond the usual coastlines. But even more surprising was an ancient Roman map made by a geographer named Pomponius Mela nearly 2,000 years ago. His map included detailed notes about the Atlantic Ocean and even mentioned a mysterious people, the Atlanteans. That alone got historians excited. But then came the real twist. When comparing Plato's detailed description of Atlantis to the Eye of the Sahara, the similarities were hard to ignore. Plato described a city made of rings, land and water woven together in circular patterns. And guess what? The Eye has that same ringed structure. Even the surrounding landscape, which Plato described as a wide rectangular plain stretching for hundreds of miles, matches the flat, open lands around the Eye. Now, it's not like the Eye is shouting, "I'm Atlantis," from the sand dunes. It's still just a theory, and there are plenty of questions left unanswered. But the match between Plato's story and the Eye's features has sparked a wave of new interest. The site doesn't just sit there looking pretty, it lines up with some of the oldest clues we've got about Atlantis. Moroccan Desert Hypothesis. In 2015, a German computer expert named Michael Hübner became deeply fascinated with the ancient texts Timaeus and Critias by Plato. His interest wasn't just casual, it was driven by his mathematical expertise. Hübner, with his knack for numbers, used a method called hierarchical constraint satisfaction to analyze every clue Plato left about Atlantis.
Amazing, sophisticated city, and yet the more they acquired, they were not.
By weighing these clues, Hübner pinpointed a location on the map that was roughly 3,000 miles from Athens, Greece. What many overlook in Plato's story is that Atlantis is portrayed as a mighty adversary in a war against Athens. In his research, Hübner applied a kind of battleship strategy, placing pegs where the clues pointed to, and the area with the most hits was where Atlantis could be found. According to Hübner's calculations, the mysterious city of Atlantis could be located a little south of Casablanca, in modern-day Morocco. One of Plato's most famous descriptions of Atlantis involves concentric rings of land and water surrounding the city, with distinctive black and red stones. These clues stood out to Hübner as he looked for evidence of such a city. To explore this, Hübner invited me to join him on a journey across the Moroccan desert. As we walked, we came across the very stones Plato described, black and red striped stones scattered across the land. But the real revelation came when we ventured up a hillside on the edge of the Sahara. There, we found what appeared to be the concentric circles Plato spoke of, a striking similarity to his description of Atlantis. Just a few miles away was the Atlantic Ocean, providing another connection to Plato's tale. Hübner's theory, which suggests Atlantis may be located in Morocco, is relatively new and still controversial. Few have ventured to propose such an idea. Yet, Hübner's argument is compelling. He believes that the geographical features and the layout of the land strongly support his hypothesis, and his discovery adds a fresh perspective to the ongoing search for the lost city of Atlantis. This was not the only location to be linked to Atlantis. In the mid-1970s, legendary explorer Jacques Cousteau also set his sights on Santorini, a volcanic island in the Aegean Sea, hoping to uncover secrets about the fabled city. Akrotiri excavations. While many continue to dismiss Atlantis as a mere myth, there are those who believe that Plato's legendary story may have been inspired by a real historical event, the catastrophic volcanic eruption that struck Santorini around 1600 BC. This eruption, one of the largest in recorded history, caused the center of the island to collapse into the sea, forming the caldera we see today. The chaos from the eruption, with massive tsunamis and towering ash clouds, would have devastated nearby lands, much like the destruction Plato described in his writings. This disaster offers a fascinating parallel to the fall of Atlantis, as detailed by the ancient philosopher. But the similarities don't end there. The geography of Santorini, with its islands of Thracia and Espernici, once made up a large, circular formation, just like the way Plato described Atlantis, with concentric rings of land and water. This striking match between the physical features of Santorini and the descriptions in Plato's work adds fuel to the theory that Santorini could have been the real-life Atlantis. The idea that an ancient, sophisticated civilization could have been wiped out by a massive natural disaster seems to fit perfectly with the myth Plato told. While Santorini's caldera is a major attraction, it's the ancient ruins of Akrotiri that truly spark the imagination. Akrotiri, often called the Pompeii of the Aegean, was a thriving Minoan city that was buried by the eruption. The excavations at Akrotiri have revealed a highly advanced society, with remarkable art, elaborate buildings, and cutting-edge technologies and features that remind many of the sophisticated civilization Plato described in his account of Atlantis. The sudden destruction of Akrotiri, like the fall of Atlantis, raises the question: could the story of the mighty civilization of Atlantis
that dates from the century of the volcanic eruption, the catastrophe,
have been inspired by the tragic end of this advanced society? Lost Secrets of the Bahamas. Nestled off the coast of North Bimini Island in the Bahamas, Bimini Road is an intriguing underwater rock formation that has captured the imaginations of many. The structure looks like a cobblestone path on the ocean floor, leading some to wonder if it could be the remnants of an ancient road or even a link to the legendary Atlantis. The formation was discovered in 1968 and has been the subject of mystery and speculation ever since. So, what exactly is Bimini Road? Also referred to as the Bimini Wall, this submerged structure stretches for about 1,500 feet, running in a straight line from northeast to southwest before turning into a hook. It's made up of rectangular limestone blocks, which were initially believed to have been deliberately arranged. The blocks, some reaching lengths between 7 and 13 feet, appear to fit together like a man-made structure, making it easy to see why many first thought it was a road, wall, or pier constructed by an ancient civilization. While many researchers have examined the site, most believe that Bimini Road is a natural phenomenon rather than a human-made artifact. The rocks are formed from beach rock, a mixture of sand, shells, and coral that hardens over time. Despite this, the uncanny appearance of the rocks, which seem to align in straight lines and stack neatly, has led to the persistent theory that it could once have been part of a lost civilization, possibly linked to the fabled Atlantis. The discovery of Bimini Road gained even more attention when it was connected to the psychic predictions of Edgar Cayce, a mystic known as the Sleeping Prophet. In the 1930s, Cayce predicted that remnants of Atlantis would be found near Bimini, specifically mentioning Atlantean records and temples hidden beneath the sea. Strangely enough, the discovery of Bimini Road came in 1968, exactly as Cayce had foreseen, which led many to believe that this was evidence of Atlantis's location. Beyond the road itself, the region around Bimini has long been associated with mysterious phenomena. It lies within the Bermuda Triangle, an area notorious for its paranormal legends and unexplained disappearances. Beneath the North Sea. The legend of a lost land under the sea, connecting Britain to mainland Europe, has long captured imaginations. H.G. Wells envisioned such a place in the late 19th century, but it wasn't until 1931 that evidence of this forgotten world emerged. A trawler, the Colinda, dredged up a chunk of peat containing a spear point, revealing that humans once lived on what was later called Doggerland. This vast area, rich in early human life, was swallowed by the sea around 8,000 years ago when a catastrophic tsunami cut off Britain from modern-day Belgium, the Netherlands, and southern Scandinavia. For decades, Doggerland remained a mystery. But thanks to a decade of groundbreaking research, including the dedicated efforts of amateur archaeologists along the Dutch coastline, we now have an extraordinary glimpse into this lost world. The National Museum of Antiquities in Leiden, Netherlands, is currently hosting an exhibition titled Doggerland, Lost World in the North Sea, which showcases over 200 objects recovered from the seabed. The artifacts are a fascinating window into a world that existed long before our modern borders, offering clues to the people who once called Doggerland home. One of the standout discoveries is a 50,000-year-old flint tool found by Willie Van Wingerden in 2016. This flint tool, with a handle made of birch tar pitch, challenges our previous understanding of Neanderthals. Once considered brutish and simplistic, they are now seen as capable of intricate, multi-stage tasks. The exhibition suggests that a Neanderthal might have used this tool as a razor to shave someone's head. This shows how advanced these early humans really were. Other remarkable finds include human skull fragments with cut marks, possibly part of a burial ritual, and the jaw of a hyena. The open plains of Doggerland were filled with large herds of reindeer. These reindeer were prey for many predators like cave lions, saber-toothed cats, hyenas, and wolves. As we uncover the rich history of Doggerland, questions come up. Could this lost land hold the key to the Atlantis legend? First vision of Atlantis. Athanasius Kercher was a towering figure in the world of early modern scholarship. Kercher was a Jesuit priest with a wide range of interests. He explored topics like volcanoes, ancient Egypt, and even the idea of flying dragons. His interests were so varied that they connected the medieval world with Enlightenment thinkers. While his colleagues focused on experimentation, Kercher stuck to the old ways. He relied on ancient texts and speculative reasoning. One of his most famous works included diagrams that explored whether the Tower of Babel could have reached the moon. Yet, it was in 1664 that Kercher turned his attention to an idea that would leave a mark on the imagination of historians and scholars for centuries: the myth of Atlantis. He combined ancient beliefs and new theories to create a map. This map aimed to show Atlantis as more than a legend. He wanted people to see it as a real place. Kercher's vision wasn't just about locating a mythical city, but using it to support a broader, eccentric theory he had about the Earth's very structure. According to Kercher's biographer, John Edward Fletcher, Kercher's map was more than just an academic exercise. It was part of his grand theory about the Earth itself. In medieval thought, it was believed that the Earth had both a soul and a body. The seas, for example, were seen as flowing in and out of the Earth, much like the water in the gills of a fish. Kercher took this idea and expanded it into a hypothesis that the Earth, like any living creature, needed a skeleton for protection. For him, the mountain ranges were this skeleton, necessary for the body of the Earth to remain intact. And so, to complete this skeleton, Kercher argued that certain submerged mountain ranges had to be included. He also saw patterns along meridians where islands might logically sit, thus resurrecting the myth. Atlantis can be anywhere. Long dismissed as mere legend, its unearthing would force us to rethink everything we believed about ancient civilizations, their technology, their culture, even their understanding of the world. Far from primitive, these societies may have mastered sophisticated engineering, metallurgy, and urban planning that rival our own. Atlantis has haunted humanity's imagination for centuries, a symbol of a lost utopia, a civilization of staggering brilliance brought down by its own hubris. If the Eye of the Sahara or the enigmatic Bimini Road in the Bahamas truly mark its location, history itself could be turned on its head. Today, researchers are deploying cutting-edge tools like satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and deep-sea scans to peel back the layers of time at these sites. What they're uncovering is nothing short of astonishing. Patterns, structures, and formations that defy conventional explanation. While skeptics still wave the flag of doubt, the mounting evidence demands a deeper dive. Could Atlantis really have existed? And if so, where did the Atlanteans go? This isn't just a hunt for ruins. It's a quest for a missing chapter of human history. We hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more amazing stories.